investor.
So what is your perspective? Higher oil prices, geopolitical tensions gathering more steam. Now, President Trump has unilaterally pulled out of the Iran nuclear deals, and it looks like oil prices, the only way to go right now is just up.
It's up. I mean, it was a very well choreographed move. I mean, it's something that we were expecting for a while. What we're looking at was what would he do after he pulls out of the deal? Would he inflict the sanctions, which he has done? We've seen it go to $78, and some would think it might get all the way to 86. If you're being very optimistic, possibly 100. I know you're
ambitious.
smiling. You're smiling. Not overly ambitious. I mean, the pace, the speed in which we've moved from the early 70s to where we are now. All it takes is, an outbreak of, some sort of controversy or Iran threatening.
But there's also on the other side of the table, the oil, the inventories, the stockpiles. Those are still there. Yeah. There's the shale guys also who are producing now at cheaper compared to what they were producing before. So I'm thinking that's still a consideration. If we still have the market awash with oil.
I mean, that's still true, but Russia and Saudi Arabia are still cutting. I mean, the sanctions take between 300 to 600,000 barrels out of Iranian oil. It's looking up. It's looking at it and looking at the speed in which we've moved to 77. Saudi Arabia and Russia will continue to cut because they would look for more expensive oil prices in their interest. And for us, the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian market, it's I suppose one man's pain is another man's gain. Because already, I mean. We're now making 22.4 billion naira from the increase in oil. If it continues that way,
in the excess crude,
exactly. If it continues that way, and we don't see any reason why it wouldn't. We don't think the production in shale. I mean, that maybe later on that will come into play. We don't see anything that would stop the price of oil
that would trump the
geopolitical
tension.
Okay, so we take a look at today's trading. Yeah. Oil and gas heaviest hit, down 1.8%. Oil, on the other hand, hitting $78 a barrel. Exciting, well, certainly you, but why this discrepancy? I've spoken to analysts and they say that oil and gas or oil prices and the NSE have had a positive correlation. But then we're not seeing it this time around. Oil has been on the rally for the past couple of weeks, but the NSE has just been choppy. It's not the catalyst. What's going on?
So we are up, let's put things into perspective. We're up 7.42% for the year for the Nigerian market. So the market is doing fairly well. Sometimes these things, I would have thought, it has been about a week, I would have thought the effect we'll start to see the effect in the market. But sometimes it does take a little bit of time to, to hit the Nigerian market. But we have seen it, and it's not the first time. I mean, there was a time where it took about 3 weeks before we saw a move in Nigerian stocks and Nigerian oil companies, even when we saw this rally in the markets. So I still suspect it might be something that would come if the price of oil should stay at the levels it
What I'm wondering is if there are other factors that are skewing this relationship that I've seen in the past. The budget has not been passed. It's an election year. There are all sorts of things that people expect to impact the way investors play in Nigeria's markets. Is this what you're thinking as well?
Well, not necessarily, because the reality is a higher oil price is always good for the Nigerian economy. Yes, we do have the elections coming. Yes, we have a lot of uncertainty within our economy, and we have seen a rally. But we generate most of our income from oil. It would give that positive sentiment all around. And I believe it will come. I believe that increase in oil price, which we're waiting about, will come. The increase in the stocks will come. Because, like I said, every time that we have seen the price of oil...
It's easy to see why this would be a major concern and interest for investors. I mean, last year, the major turnaround we saw in the market was because of the INE window where the CBN was able to supply sufficient amount of dollars. Now the CBN has more to even play with. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on how you see the CBN, the comments the CBN could make at the next MPC meeting regarding recent oil prices, how it affects its FX policy. We still have multiple rates, but in terms of supplying the market sufficiently, I would expect them to still stay the same, because we don't know how long this, if it's going to stay. Yes,
we're not sure if it's going to stay that way, or if it's going to, come all the way back. I mean, all it takes is some sort of announcement by the European partners saying that they will continue working with Iran, and America will make some sort of announcement that they're looking forward to what will come out, and that could send the price of oil all the way, all the way back down. So we're looking for a sustainable. So say if it stays at this rate for another week or two, if it stabilizes at this rate, then I think the Nigerian market will follow. But even if it's a cheeky one, if the Nigerian market doesn't follow, I'm sure we can all still trade oil with Naira in Nigeria with Eagle Global Markets.
Well, you just had to throw that in there.
Just had to. But it's true, because this is, I mean, we've seen this for years. We've seen this. We report it and discuss it all the time, where the price of oil went from where it was to about $40, $30, 60, now back up to 70. You could actually, in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you could actually have traded that with Naira.
Well, I'm just going to pivot straight back to the markets. Yes. So, what stocks are you looking at? What stocks are you keenest about for the gains?
Well, I'm sticking to the. I like Nestle.
Okay.
I like First Bank. I like Diamond Bank. Those ones really. I'm not really in love with any of the oil majors at the moment.
None of them at all.
No.
I mean, not Seplat. Seplat has done well recently, and looking at their earnings.
I think they're all fabulous companies. I mean, a number of them are my clients. They're fabulous companies, but I think there are other places where we could see better.
Well, you're not so excited with the reforms going on in the oil and gas sector. I mean, we've got one part of the PIGB passed.
No, without a doubt, I am. But I'm more comfortable with